their DNA, and they found, they created horrible creatures that just obviously were completely useless in an intelligent kind of productive environment, or relatively productive environment of work and getting gold out of the ground.
When they finally honed in on us and created us in the image we are now, were we in their image?
That's what it seems like. It definitely seems like it. It was in their image. However, the Anunnaki are described to be tall and blue-eyed and blonde. The creature, or the Homo sapiens they created, might have been in their image, in the sort of general physical anthropomorphic shape, and had a smooth skin like they did, but it was a reddish, a darker skin and a reddish skin. They call it red, like the soil of the color of the African soil. And I must tell you, I mean, I'm sure you got the same color in the United States, but I've just come down from a mountain near the border of Botswana where I went to investigate another section of this lost civilization, and it's all the same. I'm just finding all the same direct links, the same tools they were making, the same stone they were using. But when I was coming down the mountain, there was this disturbed soil, and the red color of that soil was just so striking and so rich that phrase from the Sumerian tablets just came to me loud and clear. When Enki says, "I've made him in my image, in my liking, my image," and his color, the skin of we've created the creature, and his hair was short and curly, and his skin was the reddish of the color of the African soil. And when I saw that color, it just came shouting back at me. And I remembered that whole thing, yeah.
Now, did they jumpstart the age of the workers, or did they have to wait 20 years before it became somewhat of an adult, and then they put the creature to work?
Yeah, again, you see, these are the things that once you start exploring these ruins and you realize that we're dealing with this first civilization on Earth, we're dealing with the lost city of Enki. This is it. We're right in the middle of it.
Oh, my God.
The vanished, the mysterious lost city of Enki. What everyone's been looking for decades and possibly millennia, right? Now we're right in the middle of it. And then you start thinking about the pragmatic and the physical processes that had to happen here. Okay, so now you've got to start cloning and creating this new species to help you work in the mines. Okay, well, how do you go about this? First of all, as we know, they bred them through their breeding surrogate mothers, and they kept popping them out. But now, that's not a very clever thing to do, is it? Because you got to bring up.
It's slow.
It's a very slow process. You got to first bring up the babies from screaming, changing their nappies, and through the terrible 2s and the horrible 4s, and eventually when they get to the age of 16, you say, okay, well, now you got to leave your mother. You got to go work, be a slave in the mines.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the kind of situation you want. You don't want attachment by this new species to any kind of mother figure. And what struck me is that they must have had cloning tanks down here, and actually cloned this new species up into an adult stage. And that's exactly what we found. We found some of these stone ruins are of a very specific shape. And they like hexagonal, and I'm sure that you already, when you hear the word hexagonal, alarm bells start ringing, because the hexagon is a very powerful structure and a shape for the flow of energy, right?
Exactly.
So when you see these hexagonal kind of stone ruins that are not very big, they're probably about 2.5, 3 meters across, if that. And they clustered together like a honeycomb. And it's spectacular. You go, what the hell is this for?
No, they could have had hundreds, if not thousands, of these cloning tubes, right?
Exactly. And that's exactly what they had, George. We find they are hundreds and thousands of these little hexagonal chambers clustered together like honeycombs, and like a honeycomb. And if you think about it, how do bees breed, and ants and all that?
Same way.
You're looking like an ant's nest or a bee's nest where the little babies come out of, or where the bees come out of.
And in this case, they may have come out full-sized, maybe.
Full-size. In fact, that's what I asked in my channeling. I said, how long did it take to breed or to clone the workers from start to an adult size where they could come out and be immediately productive in the gold mines? And the answer was the normal full term. So we're looking at 9 months to clone from inception to fully cloned human being.
That's amazing. Now, why did they abandon the planet? Something happened.
Yeah, this is the big mystery here, and I tell you, the biggest mystery is not the fact that we have now found this giant city that is just so huge it boggles the mind. It makes Los Angeles and Johannesburg and London look like a joke.
Oh my God, it's that big?
Oh, much larger, much larger. I'm talking about 10,000 square kilometers per city. Maybe we should just quickly go over the size of this, George.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's do that, because we're going to spend another hour, next hour, talking about this, Michael. And then in the last hour, we're going to take phone calls. So,
excellent.
So go ahead, explain that.
Excellent. So I'm going to first to just take your listeners on a little journey. Let's quickly start with the estimates in the past throughout history. How people have sort of come to know about these ruins and then estimated how many they were. Okay. Well, the brilliant Theodore Bent, who I mentioned earlier, who was the first guy to excavate Great Zimbabwe, in 1891, he estimated that there were about 4,000 of these stone structures. Now, remember, he was on foot. He was tracking through what was then a very dangerous part of the world. There were lions everywhere and wild animals. It was not an easy place to explore in those days, because you're always possible food for some creature somewhere. And then by 1974, there was a chap called Roger Summers who wrote about, I think, 3 or 4 books on the ruins of southern Africa. And he did a beautiful calculation, and he, at that stage, calculated that there were about 20,000 of these stone ruins in southern Africa. Now, already, 20,000 is a large number. Because remember, our current history books tell us that southern Africa, until about 1,000 years ago, was extremely sparsely populated. There were only a few thousand people living here, and they were mostly hunter-gatherers. Now, suddenly someone tells us there are 20,000 stone ruins, large circular stone structures. It already doesn't compute.
No, it doesn't. Something happened.
Something happened. And then Johan Heine started photographing this about 20 years ago, and realizing that there are many more than just 20,000 of these. I got involved with Johan in 2007, and we started really exploring this with great energy, and haven't stopped. By about a year ago, I estimated there were at least 100,000 of these ruins. I made a phone call to the ex-head of archaeology at Wits University, Professor Revel Mason. And when I asked him, Revel, you've been studying these ruins for a long time. How many do you think they were? And he just off the bat said, there's at least 100,000 of these. And I went, that's fantastic, because that's exactly how many I think there are.
Sure.
There must be at least 100,000 of these ruins. And then I said to him, but that tells us that there must have been at least probably 1 million or 2 million or 10 million people living here. And he went, then that can't be 100,000. And you see what happens there is that our academics have a theory, and they try and force
reluctance right away.
Exactly. They try and force the evidence into their theory instead of taking the evidence and formulating a new theory based on your evidence.
Exactly.
Just like the guys in CSI do. I mean, the guys in CSI wouldn't get anywhere if they had a theory and trying to fit the evidence into their theory.
Have any other explorers in mass just gone down to that area to do some work? It's amazing that they've just left it. It's just there, huh?
No, it's the only 2 people that are doing any work on this is Johan Heine and myself, as incredible as it sounds. And I know it may come across as a bit arrogant, but that's what it is.
Like, do you have helpers? You must have a few.
No, we don't.
You've discovered one of the greatest finds of all mankind, and it's just the 2 of you. That's incredible. Michael, we're already at the top of the hour. We're going to come back with more. I want to get into the Anunnaki. I want to get your take on why you think they left. Then we'll talk more about the ruins on Coast to Coast AM.